was running a feed mill for tread lines, and there was a piece of metal or something in the bench. He was reaching in, trying to pick it up while the machine was running. And I come by, I was checking on operations, and I tripped to safety and shut the whole unit down. And the guy turned around and said, "What'd you do that for?" I said, "You know what I did that for." I said, "You're supposed to shut the machine down and take that thing out of there, not reach in there like that." I said, "You're liable to lose your hand or your arm or something." "Oh," he said, "well, what do you care?" He said, "I'm just a nigger anyway." And I said, "You said that." I said, "I thought you were a man." I said, "And if you, I don't care what color you are, brown, green, or white, or yellow, or whatever you are." I said, "If you think I'm going to stand here and watch you lose an arm in that machine," I said, "you're nuts." I said, "You're breaking all the safety rules and everything, and you know it, and I know it. You've been around here long enough." And I said, "If I ever catch you breaking a safety rule again," I said, "I'll send you out to personnel department and try to get you fired." He said, "You won't do that." He said, "I've been here too long." I said, You've been here long enough to know better." And I said, "I'd rather see you out on the street with two hands than here running an elevator with one arm." Oh. He was another one. He was mad because I shut down the machine. It cost him 15 minutes of time, to take that piece of metal out and restart the whole operations. That was a whole crew delay, and you know what, that was all right. There was no race problems with that whole department as far as I was concerned after that. I just told him right off. Guy who was with me, and he said, "What the hell?" I said, "How did you get away with that?" I said, "Well, I figured out the best thing to do with this whole situation is just tell people the truth. Don't go yakking around." No, so I never had any problems at all with any of that stuff. Afterwards, I go back and stop somebody that was running something. So, "What are you doing that for?" They tell me, and I go tell their boss. Yak around. I say, "Hey, that's not going right." That was the toughest job I ever had. I wasn't supposed to let any personalities interfere or anything, and I go in a department and something wasn't being done according to the book, the specifications, and I go get the foreman or the supervisor and something. "Why isn't this guy following the specs?" That was up to him. So I did that with one of my good Hibernian buddies one time, and he nailed me afterwards and said, "Why didn't I tell him?" And I said, "Because I can't do that." I said, "You don't work for me." I said, "You work for your foreman, your supervisor. You may well have been doing exactly what they told you to do." I said, "I can't go in and undercut their authority." I said, "It's their job to see that you do work according to the spec. And my job is to see that they do their job." Oh. So that settled that too for quite a while. Because see, it's kind of nasty to go around and pick and find fault, you don't get very well liked when you go pick and find fault. They say, "Don't like the axe man, the hatchet man," or whatever. But I got away with that because I told them I was the guy that wrote the spec, but the foreman or department manager was supposed to see that it was followed. So the criticism was not on the worker, it was on the boss that was supposed to keep his help doing the proper things.